This former WWE champion will never wrestle again, but first, an AEW original has officially been released. Over the course of the last 12 months, the All Elite Wrestling careers of several talents has come to an end, including current WWE superstars Jade Cargill and Brian Pillman Jr., aka Lexis King, as well as current free agents Fuego del Sol and CM Punk. Well, last night, eagle-eyed fans would notice that another name has disappeared from the official AEW website roster page, leading to speculation that they're no longer with the company. If you take a look at this screenshot, you'll notice that the Bunny, formerly known as Ali, is not listed as a member of the women's roster anymore, with us now having a report from PW Insider that confirms why. According to a story posted in the follow-up to the roster page disappearance, the Bunny is no longer under contract with AEW. This after the two sides mutually agreed to part ways. It's currently unclear why this decision was made, but we do know that she won't be working for the company any longer. As of this recording, both the Butcher and Bunny's husband, the Blade, are still listed as active on the AEW roster page, with no sign that they're set to follow her out of the door just yet, with the team working a dark match as recently as this past week's episode of Dynamite. Next up, Vince McMahon is selling up almost half of his shares in WWE. Earlier this year, Vince McMahon would approve the sale of WWE to Endeavor, with him now working simply as an employee for the first time since taking over the business from his father in 1982. This resulted in Ari Emanuel being positioned at the top of the WWE food chain following the company's merger with UFC to form the TKO Group. A recent SEC filing would list Vince as a risk factor to TKO due to recent misconduct and hush money allegations, specifically naming him as somebody whose presence could lead to adverse financial and operational impacts on the business. Well, we now have even more news on McMahon's precarious standing with the promotion, with TKO revealing last night that the former controlling shareholder is set to sell 8.4 million shares of his TKO Class A common stock, which as of the close of the stock market on Thursday was worth just over $713 million. The filing notes that TKO CEO Ari Emanuel and TKO COO Mark Shapiro plan to buy $1 million worth of this available stock, with other company directors set to purchase $850,000 worth. The TKO Group will then repurchase approximately $100 million worth of the stock made available. This reduces Vince McMahon's stake in the company by roughly 30%, reducing his influence in the company to less than it ever has been since his original takeover. With that said, he does currently remain in his position as executive chairman as of this recording, despite the huge cash outs. And next, WWE have announced their plans for WrestleMania weekend. WrestleMania 40 is just less than 5 months away, with fans anticipating the huge landmark event for WWE. As always, the week leading into the show will feature several big events on top of the main wrestling showcase, with WWE now releasing the plan ahead. This week, the promotion would reveal that the Wells Fargo Center, which is just over the road from the site of Mania itself at the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, is set to play host to 3 events on either side of the 2 main cards. Firstly, SmackDown will go down on the Friday before the show was expected. However, the Hall of Fame ceremony will also take place at the same venue on the same night, which will air live after the episode. NXT will then head to the arena on Saturday for the Stand and Deliver Premium Live event, this before WrestleMania Night 1 later that night. Monday Night Raw is also set to be held in Philadelphia from the same venue on the Monday. This means that fans in attendance for WrestleMania weekend will be able to catch a total of 5 live wrestling events when counting the 2 nights of WrestleMania as separate. And speaking of television schedules, an episode of AEW television has been cancelled. On December 30, All Elite Wrestling will air the first ever World's End pay-per-view from Long Island, New York, which is expected to be the last show before AEW World Champion MJF supposedly becomes a free agent in order to enter the bidding war of 2024. With that said, this event goes down on a Saturday night, meaning it would usually clash with an episode of AEW Collision, although it looks like this is not the case. According to Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men podcast, his sources are telling him that Collision is expected to be scrapped that weekend in order to make way for World's End, as opposed to it being moved to another night, and Zarian would take to X to say, "As of today, I'm hearing AEW won't be airing Collision the week of the World's End pay-per-view." Despite speculation that this could be the end of Collision as a show, it's important to know that Andrew would rule this out in a reply underneath his original post, noting that All Elite Wrestling are getting paid well for the show and there's no plans for it to be done. It just seems that the show is simply taking a weekend off in order to put full focus on the World's End pay-per-view. And next, Tony Khan refused talks with this top television network. It would recently be announced that WWE had signed a 5-year deal with the CW in order for the network to air NXT, an agreement that will come into play in October 2024. This followed reports that the National Wrestling Alliance were heading to the station, something that is seemingly off the table following a recent segment involving a certain white powder, which resulted in bad publicity for the NWA. Well, it looks like the CW may have had another suitor in mind at one point, according to House of Wrestling, as they've revealed that the network approached AEW president Tony Khan over the possibility of working with Ring of Honor, although talks at the time were declined, and Nick Hausman would write, House of Wrestling has learned that a high-level CW executive approached Khan at the LA Forum in June 2022 about bringing Ring of Honor content to the network. We are unsure if it was before talks between the CW and the NWA or WWE NXT were underway. From what we understand, Khan did not pursue talks with the CW as he refuses to seriously entertain new deals for ROH until AEW TV rights are in play, which will be in 2024. Khan feels that by waiting, he will have more options and leverage in the marketplace. It was noted to House of Wrestling that Khan found the CW executive to be very pleasant and someone he enjoyed visiting with, but it was just not the right time to make a deal. The report adds that 2 other notable pro wrestling promotions that aren't NWA or NXT were also in talks to appear on the CW, although we don't currently know which promotions they are. It also appears that the CW is open to hosting multiple wrestling products on its network, with the plan currently for WOW or Women of Wrestling to remain on their schedule despite the recent deal to show WWE NXT. And next, The Rock has been approached to run as president by political parties. Over the years, there's been a ton of speculation regarding a possible career path in politics for the former WWE champion, Dwayne Johnson, something he would hint at as a possibility all the way back in 2017. The Great One would speak with Trevor Noah on What Now this week, where he would reveal that he was approached by the 2 leading parties in the United States. This after a poll was released in 2021 that revealed 46% of Americans would vote for him were he to run, and he would say, I'll share this. At the end of 2022, I got a visit from the parties asking me if I was going to run, if I could run. It wasn't a big deal and it came out of the blue. It was one after the other. They brought up that poll. They also brought up their own deep dive research and data that would prove should I ever decide to go down that road, I would be a real contender. It was all very surreal because that's never been my goal. My goal has never been to be in politics. As a matter of fact, there is a lot about politics that I hate. It seems that for now, The Rock has no intention of taking the step into politics anytime soon, citing time with his daughters as a big reason for not making the jump. And next, the future of a recently vacated title has been teased. On AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday night, ROH television champion Samoa Joe would overcome a challenge from fellow big man Keith Lee. This before the Samoan Submission Machine took to the mic after the match to vacate the belt. This would then lead to Joe confirming that he has his eye on the AEW World Championship instead, with MJF firmly in his sights going forward. Well, the future of the title is set to be revealed next week, with the official Ring of Honor X account taking to the site right. Next week on ROH TV, Tony Khan will have an update on the ROH World TV Championship. But what do you think the future holds for the ROH television title, and who do you think should be the next man to hold the belt? Let me know in the comments down below. Next up, this former WWE champion will never wrestle again. Former WWE Tag Team Champion Tyson Kidd would suffer from a freak neck injury during a dark match in 2015, with this being the last time he competed in the ring. Since then, Kidd has made the transition to producer for WWE, with his days as an active competitor all but over. In an interview with Chris Van Vliet of Insight this week, Tyson, real name TJ Wilson, would reiterate that there's no chance he will ever wrestle again, confirming that the risk is too high, and he would say, I mean, I know they say never, but I've said never for the last 8 years. No, the truth is, I can probably do some things. I can do like 99% of the moves. I just can't do the actual bump, or, you know, and I'm sure maybe I could take a couple, but at what cost? I don't know. I haven't taken one, so there is no point to me. At the time, Tyson Kidd was considered one of the best bell-to-bell talents on the WWE roster despite his significant lack of push. This due to his time in the Heart Dungeon, knowledge and skills he now passes on to active talent through his work as a producer. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 shocking Roman Reigns facts that WWE wants you to forget.